Archaeological discovery proved the truth of the Bible. Daniel 4:30 proves something that many did not believe for many years. Daniel 4:30. The king said thoughtfully, "Is not this the great Babylon, which I myself have built as the royal residence and seat of government by the might of my power, and for the honor and glory of my majesty?" As per Daniel 4.30, Daniel knew that the new Babylon was created by Nebuchadnezzar, which was previously thought to be untrue, but was later verified by recent archaeology. Nobody thought Nebuchadnezzar had built the new Babylon during the Maccabean period. This belief was based on the lack of any archaeological evidence to support it. However, archaeological excavations have confirmed that Nebuchadnezzar did not build the new Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar did indeed construct the new Babylon city. This discovery has shed new light on the subject, revealing that the previous assumptions were incorrect. It is interesting to note that the Bible was already aware of this fact, even before it was confirmed by these recent research findings. The New Babylon was a significant undertaking, and its construction involved the use of advanced engineering techniques. Nebuchadnezzar's creation of this city was a reflection of his ambition and desire to establish a powerful empire. Despite the skepticism surrounding the construction of the New Babylon, it is now clear that Nebuchadnezzar's vision and determination allowed him to create one of the most impressive empires of the ancient world. Picture this: a time when the lines between gods and mortals were blurred, when a king was not just a ruler but a deity himself. Such was the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who commanded not just respect, but worship from his subjects. Thus, his rule was characterized by an aura of mystique and religious fervor. He was an incredibly significant individual, so much so that no one else in the world could compare. The very idea of even slightly disrespecting his servants, let alone speaking out of turn to him directly, the very idea of even slightly disrespecting his servants, let alone speaking out of turn to him directly, was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. King Nebuchadnezzar wielded unprecedented power and privilege that exceeded most people in history. He built a vast and mighty empire that eventually subjugated two other great civilizations, Assyria and Egypt. He held more control over the world during his reign than any other man before him. However, his written testimony revealed that Nebuchadnezzar was not just a ruler. What he became was the dust himself, but not an elite. The great and mighty Nebuchadnezzar himself, though, jawed. At the British Museum, you can find 6 columns of ancient writing that date back to the Babylonian era. These columns provide a fascinating insight into the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar and his ambition as the leader of Syrian, ambitious building projects aimed at transforming the city. The inscriptions on these columns offer a glimpse into the king's desire to improve the infrastructure, architecture, and overall aesthetics of the city. These columns are regarded as significant historical artifacts. The majority of bricks unearthed during Babylon's excavations bear the inscription Nebuchadnezzar, King of Babylon, supporter of Esagila and Azida, exalted firstborn son of Nabopolassar, King of Babylon. The Bible tells us a lot about this man, who was the greatest man of his time. This king fell by the hand of God and praised the God of Israel. Nebuchadnezzar had married a beautiful princess from the Persia Mountains, where Tehran, Iran's capital, is now located. She arrived at Nebuchadnezzar's palace, but quickly became homesick. She missed the mountains, the trees, and the wild animals the most. When Nebuchadnezzar learned the reason for her dissatisfaction, he immediately committed to rectifying the situation. He constructed a massive brick mountain and adorned it with an array of trees, shrubs, and plants. Its breathtaking appearance earned it a place as one of the 7 wonders of the world. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon attracted many visitors. Above the gardens, a private zoo of exotic animals was built to entertain the king's wife, unfamiliar with the flat surroundings of Babylon. One day, he was standing on the roof of his magnificent palace when he suddenly realized what he had accomplished. "Isn't this the great Babylon that I have built by my own power and glory?" he asked himself. Feeling proud and accomplished, he dozed off and dreamed. Daniel 4 is the only chapter in the Bible that tells us that the king of Babylon was built by his own power and glory. The second chapter is the Old Testament story, where a person is transformed into an animal, similar to the classical motif of metamorphosis. Think of the scene in Pinocchio when the boys transform into jackasses, or the numerous tales from the Roman poet Ovid, where the gods change humans into creatures that represent their tragic flaws. The text portrays Nebuchadnezzar's destiny in the following way. He was banished from human society and ate grass like an animal. His body was drenched with heaven's dew, and his hair grew as long as an eagle's feathers. His nails were like those of a bird's claws. Is this the stuff of fairy tales? What happened to Nebuchadnezzar, and what does it mean? This is not your typical storybook narrative or a depiction of a delusional mind. It is a thrilling rendition of how God instructs the proud to honor and glorify his name. Nebuchadnezzar and the animal mind. In the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel, we find Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, relaxing in his palace when he has a dream. The dream, however, is no ordinary dream. The dream's details are not revealed until later in the chapter, but it is clear that it deepens the story. Nebuchadnezzar and the animal mind are not the same. Nebuchadnezzar simply troubles Nebuchadnezzar and weighs heavily on his mind. Daniel 4:10-30, Amplified Bible. The visions that passed through my mind as I lay on my bed were these. I was looking, and behold, there was a tree in the middle of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew large and became strong, and its height reached to heaven, and it was visible to the end of the earth. The tree grew large and became strong, and its height reached to heaven, and it was visible to the end of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it, and the birds of the sky nested in its branches, and all living creatures fed themselves from it. And behold, I saw in the visions of my mind as I lay on my bed an angelic watcher, a holy one, descended from heaven. Daniel 4:10-30. Amplified Bible. He shouted aloud and said this, "Cut down the tree and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the living creatures run from under it and the birds fly from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump with its root in the ground, bound with a band of iron and bronze in the new grass of the field. And let him be with you, 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 and let him be with you in the grass of the earth. Let his mind and nature be changed from a man's, and let an animal's mind and nature be given to him, and let 7 periods of time pass over him." This sentence is by the decree of the angelic watchers, and the decision is a command of the holy ones, that you may know your ways and the movements of the world, so that the living may know without any doubt that the Most High God rules over the kingdom of mankind, and he who bestows it on whomever he desires, and sets over it the humblest and lowliest of men. This is the dream which I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now you, Balthazar, explain its meaning, since none of the wise men of my kingdom are able to reveal its interpretation to me. But you are able, for a spirit of the holy gods is in you." Then Daniel, whose Babylonian name was Balthazar, was appalled and speechless for a while, because he was deeply concerned about the destiny of the king, and his thoughts alarmed him. The king said, "Balthazar, do not let the dream or its interpretation frighten you." Balthazar answered, "My lord, may the dream be made clear to you, and may the dream be made clear to you, and may the dream be made clear to you. The dream is meant for those who hate you, and its message for your enemies. The tree that you saw, which became great and grew strong, whose height reached to heaven, and which was visible to all the earth, whose foliage was beautiful, and its fruit abundant, and on which was food for all, under which the beasts of the field lived, and in whose branches the birds of the sky nested. It is you, O king, who have become great and grown strong. Daniel, who was the king, said, "Your greatness has increased, and it reaches to heaven, and your dominion reaches to the ends of the earth." In that the king saw an angelic watcher, a holy one, descending from heaven and saying, "Cut the tree down and destroy it, but leave the stump with its roots in the earth, but with a band of iron and bronze around it in the new grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him feed with the bale of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him feed with the beasts of the field, until 7 periods of time pass over him." This is the interpretation. Thank you for listening to Daily Logos, we inspiring faith and impacting change. God bless you, family.